Hello and welcome to Sports Talk. I'm Phil Hill, and this month our special guest is Josh Miller, a hometown boy who makes good with the Pittsburgh Steelers of the National Football League. Josh, welcome to Sports Talk.
How you doing, Phil? Pleasure to be here as usual.
Okay. Josh, we're going to play a little Jeopardy with the audience first here, and most of them will get it wrong, but we'll try it. The East Brunswick punter who made an All-State team in the 1987-86 season, the answer would be, who is Josh Miller, correct?
Logically, it makes sense, but that's not true.
That's not true.
Nope.
The punter was Brian Forte.
Yeah.
And I guess the question that I want to ask is, you're a young fellow that still has several records here at East Brunswick. You have career records for the most field goals, which is 17. The nearest competitor has 9. You have most career extra points, which is 54, and you have a 47 field goal record to your credit. And yet, we hear of Josh Miller, the young fellow who was an All-American at Scottsdale, Arizona, All-American at the University of Arizona, and now a professional football player with the Pittsburgh Steelers. You're a punter. Could you tell us about that?
Well, it was a strange road. I played soccer all my life, and I thought the logical thing to do would kick the ball through the uprights. And I was on my way to doing that. Life was good. I was a place kicker. I could be a hero, and I pretty much dug on that. But then I went to junior college and in Arizona, and the punter on the team went into the game on 4th down. He kicked the ball straight in the air, and he caught it himself, which would tell you and I that something had to change. So the coach said, "Josh, can you do better than that?" I'm like, I hope so. So he put me in there. I gave it a shot, and the rest is really history. It was just an easy thing to do, and the place kicking kind of took a back seat to that because a lot more colleges were coming and giving scholarships as a punter.
Has it really sunk in for you? I mean, you think about you were a soccer player as a kid. I can't even say a Pop Warner player, but you think about all the Pop Warner kids, the thousands of them that are out there that dream of someday playing in NFL. I mean, has it really hit you that you've made it?
No, it hasn't. And I think when it does, that's when I'm going to get replaced. I think the greatest thing about my mentality is I'm my worst critic, and I'm never content, and I never smell the roses, so to speak. And I think when you do, you're going to get replaced. I watched the Pro Bowl last week, and I couldn't believe I do what they do. I was out there, I was like, oh my God. I always get lost. I take every moment in, I seize the moment all the time, and I enjoy it. It doesn't last forever, as we know.
Okay. You talk about being your own worst critic, but to some of us viewers out there, we might believe that Bill Cowher is a good second.
Yeah.
What is your relationship with your coach, Bill Cowher?
Believe it or not, and it's really good. He told me, hey, I've had 6 punters in here in the last 4 years. He's like, you're the best punter I've ever had. He's like, I get on you, I yell at you, but he's the first one to high-five me. He's the first one to yell at you. And he's a guy who just wears his emotions on his sleeve. He gets caught up in the game, and if something happens, he'll lash out at whoever's the closest to him. And there's times I give him some ammo. It's not like he'll look at the clock and say, I'm bored, what the hell, I'll go yell at Josh. There's things I do wrong where, I'm deserving of it. But when I do something good, he's the first one to high-five me. That's the kind of coach everybody likes.
It just seems that the balance of it all. I mean, you're right. Punters, I've seen you kick a lot, and a lot of awfully good punts. And yeah, you may get a high five here and there for the good punts, but clearly when you shank one, which has been rare, or when you hit one that's not too good, they show Cowher glowering on the sidelines.
Yeah, and I watch other punters, and there are times I'll watch the punter, and he'll hit a really bad punt, and I'll be like, wow. I watch him go to the sidelines. I'm like, he's dead. And the coach doesn't do anything. Everybody's different. And if I just signed a piece of paper that said, will you play in the NFL and get yelled at when you do bad, I'd still sign up for what I'm doing. So it all comes with it.
I've had the opportunity to be close to a pro camp, visit several pro camps and see them in action. I don't think most people realize just what goes into making of a pro. I mean, punters, kickers, the amount of work that you have to do. And yet you have to guard against injuring your leg or
Yeah.
overkicking?
Yeah, it's a journey. There's 30 jobs in the NFL, 30 punters and 30 place kickers, and on each team there's no backup. There's just one guy who does the punting and one guy who does the field goals. And as you know, you could be 22 years old or you could be 42
Right.
years old. So there are a lot of people on the planet that can do what we do. So you always got to keep on guard and keep your body healthy, because let's face it, I mean, if the next 200 people who can punt died today, our positions would be filled and the quality is going to be pretty much the same. There are a lot of guys. I'd say there's about 500 people that could punt in the NFL, and that's a lot. So you got to take care of yourself, your body, and your mind.
When did you know you had it?
Well, ever since I'm not going to lie to you.
Let's hear this.
When I was playing soccer, I wanted to do something. I didn't have a clue as to what. If you sat me down here when I was 7, I'm like, Phil, I probably wouldn't have said that, but I said, listen, I'm going to be a professional something. I didn't know what it was going to be, and maybe that was just a kid speaking, but I just love to compete. I never listen to people that say you can't. That's one thing I never did. You know, teachers would say schoolwork's important. You need, quit playing sports and da-da. Schoolwork is very important, because you know what? 1%, 2% of the kids make it in the NFL.
That's right.
And you need something to fall back on. But for somebody to tell me that I can't do something, that was just more ammo for me to go on. And, and a lot of people try to keep people down saying, oh, you can't do it and stop wasting your time. But, I really, truly believe that you can do whatever you want in this world. You're all put on the planet and the gun goes off that says go. And you pick the direction you want to go, and depending on how much effort you put into it, we'll get what you get out of it.
Yeah, you were, I think people saw the ability there. You're certainly a fine kicker here at East Brunswick High School, but you're an excellent high jumper, as I remember as well. You actually jumped your highest height?
Oh, God, I think 6'8".
6'8".
Yeah, but everyone grows up differently. I was an idiot back then. I swear to you. And there's a lot of teachers, a lot of coaches will agree with me on that one. I couldn't be told what to do. I wasn't disrespectful. I was always polite. I was brought up good, but to do the extra stuff, working out, lifting weights, running after practice, a diet, I thought I was Planet Reebok in high school.
I see.
And, I wasn't. So it took a while for me, after I got cut by the Green Bay Packers, I said, okay, your athletic ability just got you as far as it can take you. Now you got to work at it, because anything that you want, you got to work at it. It shouldn't be that easy. So that's when I grew up a lot. It's a shame. I remember Brian Forte,
right,
a tremendous athlete, as we do know. He grew up a lot faster than any other kid. That was the difference. That's what made Brian stand out as Brian Forte.
I see.
And everybody just grows up differently, and hopefully you grow up young enough to make a difference, and luckily I did.
Okay. Your first professional team was not in the NFL.
Yeah.
You actually played with the Baltimore Stallions, I believe.
Yeah, in the Canadian League. That was just a kid out of college saying, okay, here's my resume. I just got cut by the Green Bay Packers. I got to go find a job. That's where the schoolwork comes in handy, going to college, because I didn't think I was going to be playing ball. And then I got a phone call saying, how would you like to play in the Canadian League? I'm like, well, they're going to pay me to wear a helmet. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Sure, where do I sign? So I did that, and I did that for 2 years, and we won a Grey Cup out of that. We beat up on Doug Flutie at the time, who was in Calgary.
That's right.
And it's just fun. It's just, you're playing the game, and on my to-do list of life is to play pro ball. I did it, I can chalk it off, and I just enjoy it all, because I know it doesn't last forever.
Okay, speaking about not lasting forever, probably we know a professional football player's life is short-lived, but
Yeah.
A punter and kickers, I mean, they can be there 1 week and the next week they're gone.
Yeah.
You think about it?
You can think about it if you're mentally strong enough to, so I choose not to, because that could affect you. I've seen guys come to the league with the biggest smiles and they're gone 3 weeks later. So I choose not to think of it that way. I think of it more like, I'm here, I'm doing this right now, and whatever happens from here on in, I'm going to remember for the rest of my life, so enjoy it. I choose to go that route knowing that there's a kid somewhere working out just as hard as I am to take my job. So that's why when you're there, you can't be content. You got to turn it up a notch to stay there. But and at the same token, our place kicker is Norm Johnson, who's he's 38, so you can do it for a very long time as well.
I see. Let's go back. can you compare the highs of making it
Mm-hmm.
in the NFL to being named All-American at University of Arizona?
It was just, I was glad to see a lot of work pay off. I mean, you know, you get cut, first year All-American at Arizona, and that's a nice feeling because that's the sports writers and all the college players, and they say I'm the best. That was really neat, but I haven't quite enjoyed that one yet because I haven't really stopped to look at my career. I kind of just want to do it when I'm all done. So that was a nice honor, and but then I got cut right away, which goes to show you it doesn't matter what the hell you did in college.
I see.
It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to make it in the NFL. Because I was an All-American, and I thought I was okay. Where do I sign? And then I got cut. I was at Green Bay for about 35 minutes. They said, "Okay, see you later. Thanks for coming." And I was, oh my goodness. So then when I finally did make it in the NFL, it was really nice to see. I remember a Monday night game against Miami Dolphins, and I just went out there. They were filming Arliss, that show on HBO in the middle of the field, and I was just like, "You got to be kidding me! What am I doing here?" I wish I had a camera, so I could film it and send it home. But then I saw Dan Marino come onto the field. He slapped me in the butt and said, "Hey, welcome to the NFL." I was like, "Holy cow! That's Dan Marino." I think I might have stumbled or said something stupid because that took me by surprise. And I remember watching him go across, and he tripped and fell. I'm like, "That's Dan Marino." He just tripped and fell. I could do that. This guy's human. He puts his equipment on the same way I do, his pads. That right there made me realize, okay, it's a lot more glamorous on TV when you watch it.
I see. I want to ask you a little bit about the organization. How is it that the Pittsburgh Steelers continue to find a way into the playoffs, even after they lost 13 of 22 starters since the '95 Super Bowl?
Well, I think the Pittsburgh crowd, I think we're just scared of them. If we don't please them, we're dead. Because that's a crazy bunch of guys there. I mean, we have say a 4 o'clock in the afternoon game. They're in the parking lot 5:30 in the morning. The place is packed, tailgating. With big hogs rolling on the. I mean, it's just mind-boggling. And then after the game, they're there till like midnight. They're just a crazy group of people. I honestly think if we did bad, they'd take it out on us. So we do well. And you got a lot of credit goes to Mr. Donahoe, who's the general manager, who's the player scout, and he gets a lot of good guys coming in.
He's done a job. And Pittsburgh, you're right, that area is a little crazy. I've had some experience with the University of Pittsburgh. And, of course, our mayor Neri, here in East Brunswick, is affiliated with that Pittsburgh area as well. So a lot of people.
Black and gold is all over this planet.
All over the place.
Amazing.
I'll tell you. Does the team feel that Cordell / Stewart is the person that can take them to the Super Bowl despite his performance in the AFC Championship?
Absolutely. I mean, this guy is, I have the best seat in the house. I am lucky to be with the Steelers. I love watching this guy. I never punt sometimes. There are games I punt one time, which means I'm literally standing on the field watching this with my hands like this, enjoying the game. The guy is the most incredible athlete I've ever seen in my life. He can just switch gears and just do whatever you want. He's a Barry Sanders. He's a Deion Sanders. He's all that wrapped up into one, and he's got an arm like Marino. It's pretty scary to think what he can do. He won 3 games this year on his own, being an athlete. And it's a shame that there's interceptions in the end zone. People point fingers at him, but without him, we would have lost 4 or 5 more games and never been in that situation to begin with. So he's a tremendous athlete, and it's really his first year as a quarterback in the NFL. Last year, he played here and there. But he only knew 20% of the offensive plays because he had to know running back and wide receiver route. So he was he was handcuffed as far as what he could and could not do. So it's amazing. First year at the helm, he took us to the championship game. So really, the sky's the limit with where he can go. He can, everyone has the most of confidence in him.
That's interesting. Of course, one of his star receivers, Yancey Thigpen, is up for free agency.
Yeah.
If Yancey should go, what does that do to the Steelers?
You're going to miss Yancey Thigpen for one. He's a tremendous athlete. He makes things happen, and every time the ball's in the air, there's really a 90% chance Yancey's coming down with it, whether it's a good throw, bad throw, whatever happens. But sadly enough, again, like you mentioned, if we lose Yancey, there's going to be another guy there filling in who's going to have a different last name, but probably doing the same things. That's just what the Pittsburgh Steelers is all about.
Is it tougher after the Super Bowl, realizing that the Pittsburgh Steelers actually whipped up on the Denver Broncos, something fierce earlier in the year, the first time they met, and yet these guys end up being the Super Bowl champions?
That was rough to swallow. That really was. We were really excited that we had home field advantage, and Denver was coming in, and we beat them earlier in the season, and we did it pretty convincingly, and we had a lot more guys healthier, and we felt really good. Anytime you have 4 turnovers in a game, especially a championship game, it's real tough to come back on, and we almost pulled it out at the end.
I see.
But it's frustrating, and the Super Bowl was going on. I remember saying, I want the FC to win. We were rooting for Denver, and then when Denver actually won, it was like, kind of hurt again. Saying, okay, we could have been there.
Yeah.
But such is life. You go on, you look at it and say, it's just a game. It really is. No matter how big it gets, no matter how big media makes it, it's a game.
But it's a violent game, Josh.
I ain't gonna lie to you. That's why I'm a punter.
Yeah.
It's a violent game. I wouldn't do anything else except for do what I do.
Yeah. I mean, you're pretty close to it, and those of us who've been on the sidelines, I mean, it's
you just hear it.
You just hear it.
You just hear the pops and the hits. I mean, I see guys that are 6'6", 290 that can run faster than me, and that scares me to death being back there. But it's frightening to see them collide with another guy going just as fast, and they're going top speed. I cringe every game. I do this.
Yeah.
There's crazy collisions going on.
I think you gave all of East Brunswick a scare, and they held their breath. I don't recall which game it was. But
in the Canadian League.
No, with Pittsburgh, you were laid out. You were hit and you were laid out there.
Remember
you
that.
don't even remember. You still see it. No, you were laid out there on the ground, and
I remember that.
We weren't sure, what had happened.
I was fine. I just wanted some time to myself. And yeah, that was a close call. That was one of those things where you're on the ground, you don't want to move. I didn't want to try to move because it would have been really scary if I couldn't. So I kind of just stayed there and waited till someone came out and said, I'm like, am I okay? Am I bleeding? That was my first question. I'm like, I don't know why I asked that. I'm like, am I all right? They're like, yeah, I think so. I moved my fingers, moved my toes, and I got up and walked off. But just the idea of, in my own head, I replayed it as much as I could possibly remember. I remember I was out. But it was just, I knew it was hard. I knew it was a collision. I didn't want to try to move, and it's over. You don't want to think about it. You knock on wood, and you're happy that you're still playing and kicking.
And keep going.
Yeah.
Back to the organization again. You mentioned Mr. Donahoe, the general manager.
Yeah.
And, of course, Chan Gilly, the offensive coordinator. The Dallas Cowboys are looking at him as a possible coach, and Seattle's looking at Donahoe to be the general manager up there. Seems like everybody wants to take from Pittsburgh.
And why not? It's a great organization. It's probably, and I don't know because I can't compare it to any other organization, but from the veterans, this is the closest to college feeling you'll get playing with the Steelers.
I see.
They make it very homey. Everybody's very friendly, and just, it's fun. They make football fun. And it's not a business. It's a business, but at the same time, they make it not a business. Every other one, it's kind of like you're punching in a clock and leaving.
I see.
And that's the other organizations. And with the Steelers, it's a very, the town's involved. Every person, I mean, they teach these kids in 3rd grade who's who on the team. So you can't go anywhere without anyone knowing you. You really feel involved, and the fans are involved. It really feels like college again. And that's the beauty of the Steelers. And it's a great organization, and why not go to them for some help on other teams?
The thing that strikes me about the Steelers that I'm impressed with, or that I like, is that their coach, Bill Cowher, is a player's coach.
Yeah.
I mean,
he really is. He's the first one to say, you're going to be here next year. Or he say, you know what, I'm sorry, you're not in the cards for next year. A lot of coaches don't do that right after the season. So that way you can go get another job with someone else. A lot of people say, yeah, and lie to you and blow smoke, and then at the end of training camp, they'll cut you, and it's too late to join another team. He's very honest. He will not lie to you. He'll tell you exactly how he's feeling and what your plans are. And again, nothing to compare it to. All the veterans tell me that's a rarity, and the players love it. And then he goes to bat for you.
I have a theory about pro football, and about all sports, that the players are getting younger. First of all, coming into the pros and whatnot, and a lot of them have, particularly basketball, but also football as well, have either put 1 or 2 years in college and then they've gone on to the pros. And Players like the rah-rah. They like the coach that will motivate. I mean, you don't have to be a player's coach in order to win. Tom Landry was a great coach and never did any of the rah-rah. But I think with the younger players that you have now, you got to be almost like a college coach in the pros if you're going to get something out of them.
Yeah, because, I mean, and it's sad, just like you said, you should enjoy the college experience. You should go there, you know, get an education, and then move on. You know, you're kind of rushing life. I mean, if you think of it, you leave that college atmosphere or just jump the college atmosphere and go right to the pros, you're joining the real world. You're joining all the taxes. You're joining, you know, it's amazing. You have a tremendous amount of responsibilities, and you can't make any of the mistakes you could make in college, off the field, on the field. Just growing up and being a mature young man, you can't do that. You're under the microscope.
I see.
And that's upsetting to me to see kids do that. You know, you should enjoy life, and they're rushing things, and it's a shame, you know. And it all goes back to how you're brought up. You know, I really truly believe that. You know, if you're brought up well, and you know you know right from wrong, you're going to be okay, and you won't be under the microscope as much for doing things. But as far as that, these kids, these poor coaches, they have to be a babysitter / coach, and a lot of the coaches haven't done that in the past, so now they're getting scrutinized for not doing a good job. Well, hey, they never had to do that before. Why do I have to be a babysitter? My job's to coach. Let me just coach. So that's why there are a lot of problems going on with the coaches now. But and that's the new trend. You know, they need a guy who can babysit, get them up for a game, plus coach them to win. So that's real tough for the coach.
I see. I'm only interested in one more player on your team, the Bus, Bettis.
He's a big fella.
He's a big fella. He's
just a big kid. You know, I always compare it. He's not nearly like this, but there was a movie with, oh my goodness. What was it? Oh my God! I can't even. We'll have to come back to this.
We'll have to come back.
Killing me. I'm going to think of it right when I'm out here.
Okay, but
there was a scene where this big guy was just running downhill. Couldn't stop him. Just a big guy running downhill. There was what movie was that with who's? Oh, forget it.
Forget it. But anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, if you could just picture a very big kid running downhill, you can't stop it. He just ran right through the woods, through everything. He just kept running and running and running. But stripes.
Stripes, okay.
Thank you. There was a scene when they were running the obstacle course, and Dewey Oxberger, who happened to be playing by John Candy, just ran downhill, and the course went left, and he just kept going downhill. He couldn't move, couldn't switch directions. He just kept going. No one could stop him. And that's exactly what Jerome is. He just goes and goes. I mean, you know, DBs are 5'9", 170.
Right.
You know, he's 6'2", he's 6'1", but he's 255,
He's
260, 270.
and coming at you.
Yeah, and towards the end of the season, he's 270. So, you know, it's just mind-boggling. He really, it's just to see someone that big run that fast is, you know, again, that's just, this league is, it's crazy the things that go on in it.
Okay. Josh, earlier you mentioned about the young players, and you think it's all about how you're brought up and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I'd like to ask you about your folks. I know I see your dad all the time.
Yeah.
He's at girls' basketball games, boys' basketball games, football games,
That's right.
and so forth. He's a great guy. Tell me about your family.
I'm lucky, and you know, sometimes you take it for granted, but I'm very lucky. You know, I've been blessed with a great family, a great life, and I owe it all. Really, I really owe it all to my parents. Not they put me on the planet to enjoy all this, but you know, they brought me up real well. My dad's my biggest fan, and you know, like you said, if I was in a rock skipping contest in Alaska, he'd be there early. But you know, it's just, and I hope I'm lucky enough to be that way with my son and or my daughter. And I learn a lot. You know, it's amazing. You know, you look at them, and I don't know how many people can say it, but if he wasn't my dad, he'd be my friend. You know, I'd be friends with him, and I think that's the best compliment that I can give to him. You know, I'd love to be friends with him.
You're an only child.
Well, I have a sister.
You have a sister.
I'm so much cooler than her.
But of course, brothers always are.
Yeah. So, but my parents are great, and my sister's great. But my mom and dad, my mom's the catcher mitt of the family. She's the toughest lady I've ever met.
Is that right?
And my dad, they're just great. Can't say enough good things.
I hear. Josh, for all our young viewers out there that are dreaming about making it one day in the pros, whether it's ice skating, gymnastics, boxing, or whatever, what would you tell them about work ethic? What they have to do?
Well, I would tell them not to look at the stats and numbers, because you know, people like to do that. They like, oh, well, you know, 1% make it. Well, the 99% that tried didn't work hard. So I would say if you're dreaming, it's a reality. That's the first step. You know, you get into what you put into it. And I'd always say you got to study, and the books are just as important, but you can do both. It's very possible. You could be an A student, B student, and be a tremendous athlete. It's all what you put into it. And I'd say shoot for the stars, because anything's possible, and you pretty much dictate what you want to do on this planet. And it's important to have adults agree with that and let them know that you can do that and push them to do that, and don't tell them the stats about people not succeeding, because then they buy into it. At a young age, their minds they want direction. They're looking for direction.
They're looking for direction.
You know, and it's important to tell them, yes, you can do that. It's important to do this too, but you can do that. And it's easy to do both. It's just a matter of how bad you want it, and you got to surround yourself with a good cast, and that means your friends. Because friends, peer pressure at this age, you know, it's stronger than your parents' words. You know, it's, well, my dad says this, but, you know, Billy says this. I'm going to go with Billy. It's important to surround yourself with people that understand what you want to do.
Good people.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Josh Miller, you're a shining example for the youth of East Brunswick. I remember you, of course, as a skinny little kid out there for the East Brunswick Bears.
That's right.
A very talented young fellow, though. You've always been a gentleman. I always talk about those kids that come up and say, "Hi, Mr. Hill, yes, sir, no, sir." You've always been one of those young fellows, and I admire you for that. But you've been a credit, certainly, to East Brunswick. I know I speak for all of East Brunswick when I say it's really a special thrill, you know, for us to turn on television on a Sunday to see a Pittsburgh Steeler game and to see East Brunswick's own Josh Miller out there. So I thank you on behalf of East Brunswick, and I wish you the best of luck in the future.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for having me on the show.
Okay. So I'm Phil Hill for Josh Miller saying, please join us next time.